Hello and welcome to Kings of the North, episode 2, the British HSV podcast for everyone and everything, blue, white, and black. So I hope you're all well. It's myself, Graeme Hanna, joined once again by Derek Johnson, your co-hosts for now, but we're more than welcome and willing for others to get on board and to join the conversation. Good afternoon, Derek.
Afternoon, mate. How are we?
Yes, I'm not bad. Busy day, plenty going on, but good to have a bit of a break to talk all things Hamburg. It has been a while since we last spoke, since we last got a podcast out. Life has got in the way over the last couple of months, but it did include a trip to Cologne for the away game, which we'll get into shortly. It was very enjoyable for both of us, a couple of friends that were with us, and meeting up with a lot of our good friends over in the Hanseatic city. And as I said, we'll get to that later in the discussion. But since we last spoke, Derek informs me that 10 games have passed, so we really need to do better. A bit like our team needs to do a wee bit better, but we're doing okay. There are signs of progress. There have been some good performances, some not so good performances. The results have mostly matched what we're seeing, I think, Derek. It's obvious that we need more in the final third of the pitch. We desperately need to be able to put the ball in the net going into the second half of the season. That's the problem for the coach, for the management to sort out. For now, I think we're doing okay. There are worse teams in the Bundesliga than HSV. The defending is okay. The general play, I think, is fine. We'll touch on some of the games, but I feel that the Dortmund game perfectly encapsulated the issue. Quite decent at home, not brilliant. We're not getting carried away, but more than competent, able to mix it with some of the big teams. Just struggling to do the important bit, but thankfully that day the moment came. But since we last spoke, Derek, how do you think the performances and the results have fared?
Yeah, to be fair, mate, I think we're seeing exactly what we've got, essentially. You've got a team that's been promoted who's adjusting to being back in the top flight, obviously, after the amount of time that has were away for really, it was always going to be an adaptation period for me. But I think you're also seeing a team that's competent, a young side that's willing to compete, willing to battle, and that's what I enjoy most just now about watching them. Obviously, we've said previously, mate, we've got allegiances elsewhere when it comes to our team in Glasgow, and I actually thoroughly enjoy watching Haskell, whereas I don't enjoy watching Rangers, and it's mostly because of that. The difference between the two teams just now is we've got one team that's willing to at least fight for each other, and another team in Glasgow that just isn't. And when I watch Haskell games, I see a team that's willing to run for each other. I see a team that's willing to go for each other, literally willing to fight for each other. As we'll maybe discuss in some of the games that passed, we've seen moments. Fabio Vieira decided at one point that he was going to join the kickboxing club. Um, we had obviously our own trip as well, mate. Ill discipline there, but there's part of me also likes that. I also like the fact that they're no willing to get beat. They don't want to be beat. They've got a bit more about them than just accepting, aye, we're going to take it down today. And I think that's something that can ultimately lead to a successful season. And what's a successful season for us? Well, ultimately it's staying up. I think our content, I've been quite honest with some of it. Every point matters just now. It is really that simple. The one They won the most recent match before the international break. The Dortmund game is a perfect moment for that. You've got a team that was really, especially in its own home ground, backs to the wall for a good part of an hour, built their way into the game, and essentially in that last 20 minutes, I think they deserved the point. They grew into the match, and I know that's quite cliche, but effectively that's what they need to do. Sometimes they're going to come up against better sides and ultimately know, right lads, we're playing a better team today. We've got to box cover, and it's how do we box cover. Um, Despite the results, obviously 5 defeats in those 10 games since we've last spoke, in terms of shows, mate. I think even within the 5 defeats, there's been signs of, here, we've got something. We've got something. We've got a young team. Defensively, I think we actually look quite good. There is the hardest part, I think, with the defence is you've got a strong initial defence. The issue will always arise when fringe players then need to come into that. I, personally, I've never quite fancied Miko Bronsis, for example. I just don't see a great defender in the boy. Any time that I watch him, I think he's a bit all over the place. Um, and guys like that coming into the team can disrupt things, but obviously the the crown jewel at the moment in Hasfal's defence as well is a lone player, and is very unlikely to be anything more than a lone player, sadly, because he does seem to be one of the hottest prospects in European football at the moment, in Luka Vuskovic. Um, let's hope in the year that we now count down that Marco can come back in and be much like his wee brother is doing, because his wee brother has been nothing short of outstanding. I have watched most of the games. If I've not been able to watch games, I've watched highlights, mate. And I found in the Cologne game that we were both at, watching him live was very, very encouraging for that young man's career, because he's an 18-year-old centre half, but he doesn't act like an 18-year-old centre half. There isn't any panic in his play. He's very composed. His leadership qualities are excellent as well. I watched a lot of the moments at that match when you're there live, and he's quite happy to tell players that have got a good 10 years in them time round about them what to do. And I love that early because there's not enough of them got that about them anymore.
Yes, you can see that he's quite possibly destined for a fast track to the top. We do want Vuskovic to be at the Volkspark, for at least until the end of the season. It's not likely to be longer than that, but given his quick rise to prominence, there have been headlines in recent weeks. Some of the listeners will be aware that there was talk that Spurs could be recalling him and maybe selling him to here or there, or putting him into their team. But it does appear that it will be a loan as it was intended for the season. He's getting game time, which was crucial for a young player. He's playing at a good level in the Bundesliga. So it appears to be working out for all parties at the moment. It's a fascinating story, when you take a back seat about wee brother coming in wearing the number 44 and honouring his brother, who still got his suspension issues, and that whole backstory, and representing the club, playing for the fans, almost returning the favour for how the supporters have got behind Mario and everything that has gone on. So yes, he has definitely been one of a few shining lights in the season so far. You said a few minutes ago that the season, it's about one aim, it's about consolidation, it's about staying in the league. So within that, I think realistically most of the points are going to come at home. There's just a different feel to games. Even the Dortmund game, you felt that keep it tight, even conceding the opener, as happened in that game. You feel if only we can take a chance. It's not if we can get a chance. Chances are going to come. My only issue, and we saw it with the Dortmund game, we saw it before, teams are happy enough to give HSV the ball. Usually it will go wide. A lot of the play predictably comes through Dompe. His end product can be hit or miss. The goal against Dortmund did come from that side, but it was a lovely cross ball that came in instead when we were pushing later on. So for me, the majority of the points are going to come at home. Certain away games, not that you're writing off games, as you pointed out, Derek. There's a fighting spirit, there's a determination to stay in games, but for one reason or another, games can get away. Uh, if we don't need to go through all 10 of the games in detail, uh, the the Stad derby was a bit of an outlier, because I thought it was a fairly even game, but it was a bit of a lesson in that you need to be sharp, you need to be clinical at this level. It was a proper smash and grab from Paulie that night. When I say smash and grab, they were ruthless. They took their chances when they came, and they were able to see the game out. So it's never nice losing a derby, particularly at home. But that wasn't a bad performance. Uh, that was followed by another defeat at home, 3-1 against sorry, no, the Hanover was the friendly. The next game was getting beat at Munich, and I'm sure you'll agree it's best to get that one out of the way early in the season. Just scrub it, write it off. Uh, it was 5-0 this time. We've all been there, seen it, and everything else previously. Thankfully, thankfully it didn't get too traumatic. But that fixture's gone. It's done. Get it out of the way. Uh, Important 2-1 win at home against Heidenheim coming into the end of September. I thought I was able to watch the Union game, 0-0. It was very good. One of our friends was at the game. It was stupidly late on Sunday night. He was telling me that he couldn't see much through the haze of pyro that went off in the away end, but it was that resolute, determined performance that you mentioned. Should have, probably could have got something more out of that game. As it turns out, that game also had the late red card, didn't it, for Vieira? So there's been lots happening. Uh, I suppose the highlight of the games that we've missed, well, there have been a few, but 4-0 at home to any team is not to be, you're not going to turn your nose up at that. So that was important for confidence. Mainz were put to the sword on the 5th of October. A couple of narrow defeats followed, away to Leipzig, which was interesting in terms of the goals. It was conceding one, pulled one back straight away, and then they literally went up the other end, didn't they? And they scored what turned out to be the winner. So that was, 3 goals in 5 minutes in that game. And to me, that showed that, all right, maybe Bayern is a case apart, but there's mixing it away to Leipzig, and then going toe to toe at home with Dortmund. So that showed that, whilst there is a gap in some ways, HSV aren't going to be threatening the European places this season. But certain games, it's just about taking your chances and making the most of them, because uh, this team this team can compete. We'll maybe touch on the podcast separately, because there was the progression in Heidenheim. But in between, Derek, the Dortmund and the Heidenheim game, effectively in the cup, was the enjoyable return for us to Hamburg, and not just that, it was getting in an away game down at Cologne. So it was a very enjoyable, but Saturday to Monday, all in. You were over here in Belfast Friday night. We we flew out of Dublin early on Saturday morning. Everything was going well until we got to that passport queue.
Aye, but you can say that, mate. Some of us were 60 euros later thanks to Ryanair. So, if Ryanair are listening, any chance of sponsoring our show? Because he's owed a few quid. Uh, no, to be fair, mate, the whole trip for me was excellent. Obviously, a Friday night in Belfast, especially learning the differences of Halloween in Belfast, that was quite fun. Then,
Yeah, just for a bit of context, in case people are thinking, what are you talking about? Here in Belfast and in Northern Ireland, we do, although I don't like them personally, and especially with a young kid in the house who hates them, we do fireworks at Halloween, so it's not a case of doing November the 5th. Everything is fireworks and maybe having your parties on Halloween. There's nothing here on November 5th, unlike England and Scotland. So, in case you thought Derek was up to any other things for Halloween, it was just seeing something a bit different here. So that's all that was. But yes, Derek got stung. I did warn him his bag was looking a bit big, but he brushed it off. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And then he got whacked for €60, a sore one. But what can you do? You pay the money, you get on the plane,
I would,
and,
I would just like
and
to point out, mate, the same bag came back from Cologne via Dublin to Edinburgh and never get checked on two flights. So,
I think you should write a strongly worded letter. So I do.
uh, a good old fashioned. I'll get AI to scribe me one as a event on my phone. Nah, to be fair, we'll let that one go a wee bit. I will not be flying Ryanair ever again, but apart from that, I've let it go.
Not until the next time. All good.
I'm a
Uh,
Lufthansa man these days, mate.
yes. So we were with a bit of free time on Saturday afternoon when we arrived, taking in the wonderful sights and sounds of the Hauptbahnhof as ever. We were a wee bit thirsty by the time we arrived, so we found a couple of seats eventually upstairs, and there was a bit of football on the TV. So a bit of the first of a few drinks over the weekend. We did overindulge a bit, but sure, if we're on our holidays, and then later on Saturday, we met up with some friends for a bit of food and some more drinks. A very enjoyable Saturday evening in downtown Hamburg. I'm sure you'll agree. And then that was to set us up for a very early start on Sunday morning. We were on one of the first trains to leave Hamburg before 7 a.m., if I remember correctly, to make the journey down to Cologne. It was getting up was the worst part. Once we were on the train, it was fine. Intercity train, the restaurant cart was there. After a few stops, all our mates were on board with some beers, plenty of supplies, everything you need, and the journey was on its way.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. To be fair, that train journey is probably the worst part of the full trip for me. Purely because I had a hangover that was starting round about the time we got on the train. So, aye, that wasn't really good. But that's the joys of going to Hamburg. You decide that you'll stay out too late before a half 6 departure in the morning.
Yes, uh,
But that's these are the things you do, and these are the lessons you learn with it, aren't they? Don't get me wrong. When the boys came on the train and offered me a beer, I was more than happy to accept. However, it's probably the longest it's ever taken me to drink a bottle of beer. Not so good. Not so good.
I thought
But
the journey on the way there was fine. It's always the way, when you're regardless of where you're going, when you're going, on holiday or going to the place, it always, it always doesn't seem as bad as the way back. Uh, on the way back, it was partly because I'd fallen asleep and then woke up and I don't think we were at Bremen yet, so there was still like an hour or an hour and 15 to go. But it was worth it overall. We wanted that away day experience, something different. We've both always fancied Cologne, as you know, for the stadium and for the match day experience, and it certainly delivered. Once we were into the city, uh, sorry, before I continue, I have to say I had in my head I hadn't really checked out the bounds or the map of Cologne as such. And I was thinking in my head, I wonder if I'll see that lovely big cathedral. I wonder if the dome is far from the train station. And we get off the train, we come out of the station, and just by chance, those lovely people in Cologne they decided to build a dome beside the train station, or maybe the other way around. So while we were waiting about on just heading off, we were able to take a couple of photos like proper tourists and enjoy the sight of the Köln Dom, just basically behind us, outside the station. It was even nicer at night, so we got doing a wee tourist bit as well. But we made our way with a lot of other Hamburg supporters to a pub in the city centre, which was being used, and I'm led to believe is used frequently by HSV fans in Cologne and the wider North Rhine-Westphalia region as a watering hole, as a base for watching some games. So it was quite good. Just a lot of guys together, standing, drinking, talking, eating, singing, having a good time, enjoying ourselves for October. The weather was still pleasant. There was a bit of sunshine, and you made your way up as well, Derek. And things were going well by the time you arrived. Right next to us, right next to the pub, there was also a Lucas Podolski kebab shop, and some of
I
you
would
might be
just like
familiar.
I would just like to interrupt you and thank Lucas Podolski for deciding to get into the kebab game because being a rough wee soldier that Sunday, Lucas Podolski became my best friend with that kebab, mate, because that sorted me right out.
He put you back in the game.
He absolutely did, mate, because I was nothing short than a man down by about 1 o'clock that afternoon, so that kebab gave me enough to just lift me and go again right in time for the match.
I had a wee go at one myself. You'll not be surprised to know it was quite good. It set us up for the rest of the day. Uh, and then from there, it was a case of making our way up to the grounds. Had a bit of a walk, jumped on a tram eventually, which was very, very busy, as you would expect on a match day. Uh, but we got there in good time, and Derek, I was very impressed with the stadium footprint. Once you get off the train, there was a walk of 2, maybe 3 minutes at most to basically to the stadium. But before you hit the turnstiles, anybody that doesn't know, basically it's a straight walk. There's a path, there's grass on either side. The stadium's right in front of you, from the main station. Before you get to the actual turnstiles, there's plenty of stalls along the way, so you can get any food you want. You can get a beer, you can get a Coke, if there was tea and coffee, so whatever you want, you're catered for. As I say, plenty of food options to fill your boots. And then as you got closer, there were more options. Most people will be familiar with Cologne. It's a traditional type of stadium, not completely, unlike Ibrox, in that it has its four stands, the four different sides. At Cologne, you can basically walk around the whole perimeter, and me and my dad were in the home end, so we took a walk around. The match, unfortunately for us, it overlapped, clashed with the Rangers Celtic League Cup semi-final, so we caught a wee bit of it on our phone before we went in. But it was just enjoyable. There were a few Cologne fans actually came up to us straight away. They said, you're Hamburg fans, but they were just wanting to talk. Whether it was what we were wearing, we weren't overly uh, bedecked in blue, white, and black, but it must have been obvious that we were away fans. We weren't the only ones, but as is the case in Germany, apart from the active support, behind the net, on the end, on the curve, call it whatever you want. By and large, most of the rest of the stadium is and can be mixed. There are no real issues, apart from the biggest, most contentious games. In the stand we were, along the side, there were a few Hamburg supporters, wearing their colours, wearing the team kit, wearing scarves. Generally, there are no issues, and why not? Obviously, you're not going to be going into the main end in with the ultras and the active supporters, but it was an enjoyable experience. The match itself was a good game. It was, if it was a boxing match, people would have got their money. Obviously, in the end, there was a resounding winner. We had 2 red cards on our end. Uh, Hopefully, I'm providing just an overview, a snapshot. This will be a good excuse once the podcast comes out to share some photos again. We can put them up on our socials. But at the game itself, at the stadium, apart from the result and how that panned out, uh, I really enjoyed myself overall. Would happily go back as an away fan to Cologne. I have no real complaints. It was everything I wanted and more. To be honest, we also met a nice couple from the Kirkintilloch HSV supporters club. We were drinking with them in the pub and around the game. So, overall, it was a very good experience. How was it for you, Derek?
A bit different, mate, as you know. So I stayed in Cologne on the Sunday. Unlike yourselves who travelled back up to Hamburg, I made the decision that I was going to fly out of Cologne, mostly because I had a night shift on the Monday night to make, so had to box cover that way. So got a hotel. So when we arrived, obviously I split away from the main group to go to my hotel, ditch my bag, get a much needed shower and freshen up, and then came back to came back to get he's pretty much at the point where he's all decided to disperse for the pub. So that wasn't too great, but also my decision making was maybe aided by the fact that I was still on an alcohol induced haze, and I decided that I needed a scran rather than needed another few beers. So me and Jan decided to hold back and get some food, have a have a wee blair with one of my closest mates from over in Hamburg as well. So that was very enjoyable, but it also meant that I didn't really enjoy the main group part of the day down in Cologne until after the match. But in terms of the stadium, yeah, mate, I would agree. Um, not quite central in terms of the city overall. Still having to make a wee bit of a journey outwards from the central area of the city, but um, found it really a really nice stadium, as you said. The footprint round about standard German fare. Apart from the difference from a home match going to watch Haas, you didn't have that dreaded 25-minute walk for Sterling to the stadium. So that was nice. The stadium itself, mate, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's one that I would go back to. You said you'd be happy to go back as an away fan. Personally, I like to tick more off, but I'd go back to. I would go back to Cologne. I quite fancy taking the wife and the wee one at some point to Cologne and Dusseldorf potentially, and trying to jump about and see a few games that way. But really enjoyed the city. enjoy the stadium, um, enjoy the stadium despite the result. But the match itself, I actually felt that it was kind of a reverse happened between the two games, the Cologne match and then the Dortmund one the following week. I felt in Cologne we were strong for an hour, we
Mhm.
competed really well, and then the last 20 minutes, our team just decided to lose the plot, simply lose the plot. Mate. Decisions didn't help that. Obviously, we had two goals chopped off, and what was that, as you said, a well contested boxing match rather than football match at points. We both seemed very damaged.
Almost literally became a boxing match at some
Aye,
point.
aye, well, to be fair, mate, as you know, I'm somebody who's been well into my football coaching, and I've spent a few Sundays watching matches that turn into boxing matches, and mostly because of the exact same reason. Despite watching what's a top flight German game, that was a game that was ruined by a referee who lost his control of the match simply because he was unable to bring the game under control from the moment that he had to go to a VAR screen and spend 8.5 minutes humming and hawing between, okay, it was for offside, no, it's not for offside, we've passed that, but this is an issue and that's an issue. And I can see why the goal was chopped off, but to spend 8.5 minutes, create chaos in the stands, because, as you say, you've got supporters that are mixed in with each other. We're down there at the HSV, mate, and there's 10,000 HSVers in Cologne for the match, so you're going to get that. But you see the crowd on both sides. Like I was very fortunate to be standing in the middle of the guest block, and able to take that overall view as you're watching that madness unfold. You can see Cologne
It was
fans
just
even
like,
when you're
just
watching
make
it.
a fucking decision.
Aye, aye, and that's everything that's wrong with the game just now, because the fact that it takes 8.5 minutes on a Sunday evening by this point, in what was quite Scottish conditions in terms of the weather, because it was absolutely lashing it down. I just make a decision. It's not hard to make the decision. If you're going to check something, check that, right? Because if he checks the decision that had to be checked and only checks that, we go level at that point in the game, and it's maybe
It
a
was
different story. But then
it
the
felt
players,
it felt like
sorry,
the sliding doors moment in the game, didn't it?
it very,
When that one
very,
went
very much was.
Cologne's way.
Aye, because from that, we had two players lose the head. He moved it right. I don't understand how that's possible. Simply, Emmanuel Ferrari has to have a good look at yourself. You're a professional football player, mate. You shouldn't be coming on and being sent off with two yellow cards in 5 minutes of coming on. Simple as that. Shouldn't happen. And if it does happen, you need to learn from it. And that'll be the interesting one to watch. Will there be a redemption up for him? Because I think he's one of these players that very much falls into the category of you're as right a league player, mate. That's personal opinion. Vieira, that's also for me his second instance of ill discipline. So when you're looking at a central midfielder from Arsenal who you're told that potentially you need to spend £20 million to sign, there's question marks there whether it's worth the risk of signing him on £20 million. I think he's looked a very capable football player, but if the gap between him being a capable football player and being a useful player is that he likes to lose his shit every now and then, that's something we need to weigh up, because that's, as I say, is between the kicking incident and then that, there's question marks there for me. Obviously, then from that, we get the referee just decides it's Valentine's Day, starts throwing cards out here, there, and everywhere.
Yes,
Um,
cards galore.
cards,
But
cards
no,
galore. It kind of ruined the game at that moment, and then Cologne, to be fair to them, mate, just done what an experienced side do. Take control, go and score goals with ease. And they've got gaps to play into because you're two men down. But they still took the game by the scruff of the neck at that point, and it just petered out for us sadly. But it was one of the games where there should be a lot for the team to learn, and in the right way. It's okay. I've said early on, I think that they show they can battle, they can go. That's fine, but it needs to be a level of controlled aggression, and that's where the learnings can come in for me.
Definitely. And you're right in what you say about Vieira, because I think it is clear we've seen already glimpses of what he can do, and what he is capable of. But there's no point having a very good player on loan, or if it comes to a point of spending significant money on a very good player, if he's going to be sitting in the stand because he's suspended for repeated mistakes, and picking up red cards when he shouldn't be. So that will be one to watch in the coming weeks as we move towards the break, and to the end of the year.
Just to,
So
just to come back to
yes,
Cologne as a city, obviously, as you say there, we got away at Cologne. Obviously, I stay in Kirkland. Some people may know who are listening, and I go all the way to Glasgow on a Friday via Belfast, Dublin, Hamburg, and then to Cologne. And I meet two people that I've never met before, that stay stones throws away from me. So that just shows you the matter of the overall HSV supporter scene as well for me. I, until we started this podcast, I wasn't aware that there was an OSC in in my hometown. So to meet Craig and Justin was really nice. The Sunday night when you guys went up the road, the three of us were still down in Cologne. Managed to go and have a beer with them, and I'm hoping to try and do that with them as well. As Jim, that runs the supporters club, hoping to try and catch up with them before the end of the year. Maybe get a couple of beers up at a local supporters club for a HSV game at some point.
sounds like a plan. Nice one. And yes, hello again to Craig and Justine, if you're listening, or hopefully you will be soon. So yes, Cologne went to plan off the pitch, didn't quite go to plan on it. A very good trip was had by all. You were back home early the next morning, via Dublin, back to Glasgow. We had a long train back to Hamburg. There wasn't much happening by the time the train rolled back in on Sunday night, in the early hours, as you could imagine. So it was a case of get back to the hotel. Uh, we were down for a drink, and when I mean down for a drink, there were copious beers throughout the day, but just with the journey, and we were out of liquid, so uh, water and juice and whatever else. It was a case of rehydrating before bed, uh, and then we were up again at not a bad time. It was about, I think it was about 7:30, 8, on Monday morning, to head home. Just a couple of beers, 2 or 3 beers on the way home, just to finish off the trip, and then it was back up to from Dublin to Belfast for myself, my dad, and our mate Roger. So a great trip had by all. We're looking forward to the next one. Nothing set in stone. The early front runner is the last home game of the season, in May. That could depend, from our perspective, on how Rangers are doing. If there's anything, uh, it's a bit, maybe a bit of a hope at this stage, but if we're doing anything at the end of the season, but we've one eye on the last home game of the season at Hamburg, so hopefully we can follow up on that. So looking ahead to the next few weeks, we're now, as we record, on Tuesday night. Tonight is the last of the international games until March. So 4 full months of club football Obviously we have the break at the end of the year into the new year in Germany. But if we look at the next four fixtures, Derek, Saturday afternoon, we are Bavaria bound, not personally, unfortunately, but the team and the supporters are off to Augsburg on Saturday, followed by Stuttgart at home, our northern neighbours, Kiel, in the Pokal on the 3rd of December, followed by the Nord Derby at home on the 7th of December. So we'll not get too far ahead of ourselves. We can certainly talk about the upcoming game, I think. But if you just give me an overview of your thoughts on the four upcoming games, Derek. For me, uh, especially after the defeat in Cologne, getting something in Augsburg is uh, not only it's not only something that we should be looking for, but I think it's essential. Given how they've started the season, they're 2 points and two places worse off. They should and could be looking over their shoulder for the trap door. As it stands, what glimpses of them that I've seen, they haven't been too good. So I think the team needs to show something on Saturday, albeit with a couple of suspensions and selection issues. But you need to go there and get a result, don't you?
Absolutely, mate. They've had a, a break for some, obviously, with the international period as well.
Hmm.
They've trained there as well. I know that they've played some friendlies. I also seen Odo Rice made a visit to see the team at training over the weekend there as well,
Yes.
which is nice. And um, I would I would hope, mate, that on Saturday we see that the level of away performance that we've not quite seen yet, and maybe go and take a couple of goals and get back home to base with 3 points further on the board. The games then after that, the two that I'm really looking at overall in the four is the cup game midweek against Kiel. So I wouldn't say a derby, but still Kiel. As anybody that knows that's followed Haskell over these last 10 years will know, Kiel were very much one of our sticky wickets, hard hard to beat side, and that effectively always for me came from, well, it mattered more to Kiel because it was a chance to go, we beat the mighty HSV. So it'll be interesting to see in a midweek Wednesday night how that goes in the cup, because as well, you're in the last 16. It's an opportunity. I know you said earlier on the show, mate, that European places and these type of things. I'm always a dreamer when it comes to the cup, mate. I am always a dreamer when it comes to the German Cup, because you see what happens most years with it. The Pokal is a tournament that some take seriously and others don't. It would be nice if we could do the comp that surprises people this year and capitalises on us not taking it seriously by trying to get our way to Berlin, because that's where Europe becomes a firm possibility if we manage to get to that final dance at the end of May. So a bit of optimism there, fingers crossed, touching wood, all these type of things. We'll see how it goes, but the one that I'm really looking forward to is the real derby's return. The Nord Derby on the 7th of December for me will be a day where I make sure I am parked firmly down with a few beers to shout at the telly, because that's the one that matters. Everybody, everybody that I've ever met in Glasgow, when they find out you're a HSV fan, is quick to jump to, "Oh, what about that St Pauli mob?" Because we do that stupid tribalism thing at Rangers Celtic Rangers
Well,
travel over
not,
to Pauli.
not,
Aye, obviously nowadays they don't talk, but they do still talk. They'll still be as there is now. and our own fancy at Rangers, mate, just because certain people fall out, it doesn't matter. There's still people who will go. Um, Bremen, Bremen was always the derby for me. That's why I've been going over for 15 years, been supporting HSV for 18 years. The time that I've been going over, Bremen was a match that mattered. I've been lucky enough to be at Bremen away. This is obviously a home match. This is the one for me that you need to stick down a marker. You need to. That's the must win for me in the next 4 games. Purely because it would mean so much to the fans. That's the game that if we were to beat Bremen, and obviously it's 4 games away just now, the old proverbial take it a game at a time. Absolutely. However, that one that one could mean something, and that could be the wee kickstart that we need in that wee period of December. Because for me, the winter break, the key over the winter break is going to be strengthening the attack. I think we're really strong in terms of defence and midfield. We've got enough that would see us through the season, but the attack is where we very much look like we've got wingers that are capable of contributing. Jean-Luc Dompe and Raheem Phillips are both doing their jobs. The wingers at the end of the day, they won't always make moments, but
Yes.
when they get on the ball, there is a chance of moments. I think that Jean-Luc Dompe is the prime example of what where we are just now as a club. He's been a journeyman at the end of the day, the boy, but he's found a home in Hamburg, and he's loved in Hamburg. That's always pretty clear. Philippe for me as well is a prime example that despite the league, it's not a dead league. There's players there, and that's potentially where a striker could come from as well for HSV. However, that said, the issue we've got just now is what do they do, and how do they tailor it to each game? Because sometimes it should be Glatzel, other times it should be Ramsey. In my opinion, from now to January, when you're able to then potentially go out and go, let's let's roll some dice here and try and get reinforcements in that are going to make a difference to make
Mm-hmm.
sure we stay in the league. But I very much, I know I kind of went off a tangent there, but let's let's beat the Hurricanes on the 7th of December, and then let's get to January and reinforce ourselves with strikers. That's going to mean we can go, and we can maybe even at that point, mate. For me, right, and again, this is where I'm the eternal optimist. If we get to January time and we strengthen, we bring in players of quality who then do deliver goals, what's to stop us by going, do you know what? We can maybe grab onto the coattails and get a Conference League space. You just never know because it's one of those leagues where everybody's much of a muchness. Aside from that top 3 or 4, everybody else, they're all fighting. They're all fighting with each other. It's all scrap. It's that, it is actually who wants to win the fight. And that's where I think you just
We
never know.
we would all love to see that, and I would love to see a proper surge up the table. Just given the base of where the team is at the moment, and I don't see uh, game changing signings, to transform the team. I don't see that happening in January. It's abundantly clear that reinforcements are needed. Another striker is needed, and he has to be better than Königsdorfer and Glatzel, as much as they are contributing at the moment. But it's getting the most out of the players, identifying the right type of player to come in, who is going to make a difference, and that's what the management team need to piece together. But for me, from the Augsburg and Stuttgart game, you need to be taking a minimum of 3 points from those two games. Uh, I, I think the team is capable of getting more than that. Because you're looking to get a result in Augsburg this weekend, and then you've got Stuttgart at home, the first of 3 consecutive home games, and just thought of getting points against Stuttgart to set you up for the Pokal game, which then leads into the Nur Derby, the proper occasion when Bremen come. It's an exciting few weeks ahead. I hope to see as much of the action, as many of the games as possible, and just the thought of back-to-back wins in the cup to set up a quarter-final and to beat Bremen. It's a lot to look forward to. But first of all, it is that game on Saturday against Augsburg. A game is in the traditional Halbvier slot. It's 2:30 our time in the UK, so we can all tune in one way or another to the game, and it's a game that Hamburg should be looking to win. It's 13th, going to play against 15th. So, Derek, we will see what the reaction is like on Saturday after the international break. I do definitely hope it is a positive one to kick off the next run of games. And anything else you want to add, mate, before we sign off?
No, mate, no, I couldn't agree anymore. Let's hope Saturday's a positive step forward, and then from there, let's see where it goes. But as I says, I've firmly got my eyes on that game coming up, and looking forward to seeing what we get in terms of from now to the international, to the not international break. Thankfully, we've managed to get rid of those from now to March at least. But looking forward to seeing how we go to that winter break, and then seeing what presents we get later from Santa in the transfer window.
Abs- Absolutely. Just for me, it's been a decent start to the season. It's been okay in terms of performances and results. Just a glaring thing for me when you look at the league table, it's that just 9 goals scored. If that can improve, most of the race should take care of itself. We're just 2 points above the playoff spot, which is occupied by Pauli at the moment. Mainz and Heidenheim below that. They're just on 5 points. So yes, it's nice to be sitting in 13th looking up the table, but we're only a couple of games, from being back in the danger zone. So let's look forward, let's look upwards, let's be positive, and I hope that is the mantra from the team on Saturday, going to Augsburg. So let's go 3 points and get this run of winter games off to a positive start. So from myself and Derek, thank you very much for listening, for supporting. Feel free to get in touch on our socials if you want to come on and talk all things Hamburg, or to share your own story or why you are a fan. We would love to hear from you. Get in touch with us in the usual ways. So again, once again, thank you